are you guys saying when you say that? From Tawnie, the mermaid, we are saying shallow, shell. Shell is hello, guys. That's what we are saying. Shallow, Shelllo is what we are saying. Where we are today, in spite of where we're going and in spite of how we feel, which in turn takes us to our wonderful conversation for today. Are you all excited? If you have caught us this week, we said we were talking about how we look fine. Someone says, how are we? Doing excellent. Thank you so much for asking. But we're talking about how we look fine in spite of what we are going through, in spite of our visible and invisible disabilities, and how we cope day to day with still learning to love life, in spite of all of these things, in spite of us dealing with the traumas, the depression, the body, physical ailments of not wanting to work, of being extra tired, or the brain confusions of not being able to put sentences and thoughts together or put them in the right concept. As right there, I almost lost my train of thought. But we still smile in the midst of it all, guys. So that's what we are talking about today. And so many of us deal with these things, the visible, but myself and Tawnie being two warriors that deal with more invisible disabilities. As I can speak on my end as my invisible disabilities, as my, I don't even know what you call it, but I'm gonna get the first part that comes to my head is the confusion of my brain. I'll have these words to come out. Actually, I do know what it's called. It's called aphasia. Yeah. So there's different parts of aphasia. Some aphasia is the sense that one can pronounce words. I can pronounce my words, but a lot of times I'll have a word, like I can see it in the front of my face, but I can't get it out. So that is still a part of aphasia. So that is one of my biggest invisible disabilities, is still dealing with aphasia. And some of you may be on here that have not had a stroke, and you're like,
I do that.
I deal with that on a regular basis. But when you have had this brain disability, this traumatic brain injury, it is more lightened or highlighted in a sense that it's more visible, may not be visible but to you, but I notice it like, oh my gosh, I do this so much more often. Like, hey, what's the word? Or if you guys catch our talks, I'll be like, hey, I'm going to say this, but I'll throw a word out there real fast. So that's another grace gift from God, that he'll give me something else to say. It may not be exactly what I wanted to say at that moment, but I'm able to quickly get another word in. But in retrospect, most of the time, it's not what I really wanted to say. So that is one of my things, is the aphasia that I deal with, guys. And that would be an invisible disability, because that's not something on the physical level that you see that I deal with on a day-to-day basis.
And I think it's also important to highlight the fact that I also deal with that. And some people go, I didn't realize aphasia. I go, it's kind of, there's a spectrum. So some of us have it in different ways. And the thing is that it's gotten so much better. And I want to just say, because I'm 8 years out, is that most people don't realize it. But in the beginning, when I would try to say a word and it didn't come to me, tears would just come down my face. And you would have, and I tell people, because they go, well, I forget words too. I go, it's different when I'm just going to say it how I say it, when your brain is broken. When I know that it's because something's not computing, it makes you just scared. You're like, oh no, it's wrong. Whereas now I've just learned, it used to honestly bug me when people say I forget words too all the time. I'm like, it's different. Like you're diminishing what I'm going through and how much it's frustrating. Not that I was this eloquent speaker before, but people, because we talk so fast, they're like, I didn't know you had aphasia. I go, because I've learned to roll with it. I don't cry now when I forget a word. I play it off and I act like it's silly and it doesn't bug me because I've gotten to that place. But in the beginning, oh Lord, when I couldn't express myself, like right now I'm like, you just go like, okay, girl, we just got to breathe. And like you said, other words will come to me. Other people might help me. And like, I look at how far I've progressed, that I can have these conversations and we're on like multiple platforms. Whereas before, you could not have music playing. If I was talking and you said something, boom, my thought was gone. You couldn't interrupt me. Like, so it's amazing to see that change, but because it's an invisible disability and because we talk so people just don't even think that you deal with it.
So I like that. I'm gonna piggyback off what Tawnie said. We both are very fast talking individuals. That's why I love her, because she can, when we're having a conversation outside of here, which thank you, Lord, for the grace that has given me to learn how to slow and pronunciate my words and to actually breathe. But when we're just having a conversation, honey, you'd have thought we are the, what do they call those people? The people that do that. One of that,
Yeah.
those whatever those people are called, that the auctioneers that
Yes.
talk. Listen, I could actually be an auctioneer,
Yeah.
but it's not a good thing. So God has given me the grace to learn how to breathe, learn how to slow things down, and to pronunciate words and enunciate words that are more clear for you to understand. So it's a good thing. But again, I was saying we relate to that. So, but as she said, people say, how do you still deal with that? And you talk so fast. Guys, like she said, and the only reason I wanted to reiterate that, because somebody just said that to me, like literally yesterday, like, how do you still have, because they wanted to go into more detail of what my invisible disabilities was, and I mentioned that as one. But I appreciate them, because theirs is, well, you can't say you have aphasia. My aphasia, I can't speak without stuttering. I can't speak without this. They're still struggling to get words out. Understand what I said. You're struggling to get words out. I'm struggling. Tawnie's struggling to get words out because the thought is in our head, but we also are able to speak. So there's just different levels. So again, I'm saying that again to, and go back to, if this person is watching, you catch it again, because we both are struggling to get words out. You're struggling to get a voice out, get a sound out. We get the sound out, but it's most of the time it's not the word that we were trying to get, but we throw another word out because of our fast talking. We get in the bone, pick it up. So that was just that. So we're not going to spend too much time on that one.
No.
Another one I would say is, actually, I'm going to throw it to you first, so because I can't think off the top of my head. What would you say another one of your invisible disabilities are?
I would say the anxiety. And I mean, even if you're like, well, just going through a traumatic experience like that, I mean, to actually be life flighted, like they told me, most people aren't awake for that. Like the memories that I have alone are, to most people. So working on that, like going to hospitals and not having the anxiety. And like I, in fact, yesterday was saying, I've not gotten over, I've learned how to manage my anxiety with the social situations, because what I realize is I'm nervous that my battery, my spoons is going to run out while I'm out with people, and then it's like, oh no, then I'm the inconvenience. I have to make everybody do things, or what if I get misdiagnosed again, because that happened to me for a whole week. So I've realized a lot of my anxiety is about that, but it is still like I have anxiety about like going back to school and other things that I never dealt with before, and like I never had panic attacks. So to me, everybody sees this colorful mermaid and you're like, how in that you and I have, and the hardest part is I have people tell me there's no way you have anxiety. You went off the side of a building. Do you know how much breath work and how much I had to get over to get to that point? And like I have that picture on my mirror to remind myself when I'm like, I can't go to this event because I'm 10 minutes late and I'm going to let everybody down. I'm like, you went off of a 14-story building. You suck it up, Buttercup. We can do this. So I would probably say my anxiety is one of the things that I deal with the most. And that my family all noted. They're like, you were not like that before. You were a lot more easygoing with things. You didn't have your, as they call them, your freakouts, like your spaz outs. Like I'll roll with the punches, but then all of a sudden, like yesterday, we were late for our thing because we were going to go get a kitty. It didn't end up happening, and that's okay. And I understand that things happen, and I handled my emotions correctly. And then what happened? Hello, late processor. I processed it late. And then all of a sudden, I could not stop crying. I told her, I go, we can't go live right now. I can't stop crying. Like I'm just managing my emotions right now. So, yeah. I don't know. I went all off on a tangent.
Oh, no, you didn't. You didn't, because that's still part of your anxiety. So that's what people got to understand. We have different reactions to things in different ways. Like your anxiety, as maybe your part of your anxiety is your processing. In that moment, you couldn't process it. Then, when you were able to do the breath work to calm yourself down, your body was able to finally process it. Which that's a great thing. That's a part of grace, because we can look at it on a retrospect of, if it was that point where your anxiety turned into a big blow up, they wouldn't have been able to calm you down. You were able to say, okay, I'm going to control it at this moment and process my anxiety quietly. And then once I was able to get into a safe space in my head, I let it go. And that's when she reached out and said, hey, I'm having a situation right now. And guess what, guys? We have situations. But the best part of being able to control and get ourselves through those situations is to be able to speak about it, to be able to talk about it. She said, Tracey, I'm having a situation. I said, you're really not having a situation.
Because you're able
having a moment to take time for yourself. And we're not on anyone's time. Yes, we have things we say we're going to be on here at 1, 2, 11 o'clock, whatever time it is, but we still show up. But at the same time, we can't show up for you all if we can't show up for ourselves. So I needed to reassure Tawnie, you're not having a moment, you're not dealing with anything, you're taking your moment and showing up for yourself. So therefore, you can show up correctly for the next person. So that's all it is. It's just a process of being able to talk ourselves through, in spite of, and that's what I wrote. I had to write it down so I didn't forget the thought I was going to go to. So as Tawnie was saying, yes, in my anxiety, I was still able to get on the side of the building. She was learning to live out loud in spite of her anxiety, in spite of having to figure out how to deal with all of these things that's going on in her head that she can't explain. So her learning to live out loud was, hey, let me step outside of my head. Let me do something that I said I wanted to do for myself, or so. Let me take myself to a level that I can step outside of this and say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and tower down the side of a building. So on to the naked eye, they say, oh, this girl is so courageous and just so magnificent. She is courageous and magnificent. But when she does speak and say, hey, guys, I had to do all this to get there, you're going to now bring somebody else out of something that they didn't think they could go through. So your courageous actions took somebody else, may have saved somebody else's life. Like, hey, I deal with that anxiety I deal with that anxiety like she does, but I never knew how to get myself out of it. So again, it's just taking her story, taking my story, and saying, this is how we live out loud in order to still smile in spite of the things we go through, in spite of those visible and invisible disabilities. Said all that to say that, you guys.
That was beautiful. No, it's exactly. And that's why I said yesterday, the support of you having and going over the side of that building, I could not have done it if it was not for Joe, a fellow stroke survivor, and we talked to each other. There's a picture of us mid stopped, and we're just talking to each other, and we're just like, take a moment and look over at this. But that is exactly why we share it, because you can be both. You can have anxiety and still do things. And someone, Teresa, said, I wish I knew how to deal with my anxiety. So for me, that's why I say I retrain my brain, because what I've realized, my neural pathways now to go to, as I like to joke about it, I call it my stressy, depressy side. It is much easier for me to go dark and twisty than to be positive about it and be like, this is not a big deal. So when you see me happy and doing those things, it's because I've worked at that. And the reason I share that, not to be like, yeah, it's because you can do it. As someone who used to have a panic attack about just being a couple minutes late to something and showing up, and I felt like I was in a glow, like a fish bowl. Like I just felt very heightened, super aware of everybody. And everyone's like, that's anxiety when you think everybody's thinking about me. Like, oh my God, they saw me fall and spill stuff on my drink. And now they're like, oh no, is she gonna have another stroke? Like, and you have people tell you these things like, we were kind of worried. We didn't want you to come to this event because, then we would have to watch you. It's like, oh, cool. I'm glad I'm the loose cannon. Like, I don't really want to go hang out with you guys then. Don't worry about me. No, you don't have to put a helmet on me. Like all these things. So dealing with all that anxiety, but like in spite of and by sharing it has helped me get over it, because sometimes, like, I'm going to tell you guys that orientation, if I would have not said it to a whole bunch of survivors, I used that. I was like, you told them. So if you don't do this, you're not only letting yourself down, you're letting all these other people. Like, you have a chance to get over your anxiety and make waves for other people. And so it truly does help sharing about it. And maybe you're like, that would give me anxiety to talk about it more. But I've learned for me, it's kind of like with Harry Potter and Voldemort. Like, I'm not going to give him the power. Like, that's why I talk about my stroke. I talk about my things, because then it's not so dark and scary. Like, I could not show you guys me crying or talk about any of the things that happened yesterday, but I chose to go live and immediately say that, so that you guys, when you see us live talking about this, you know that like you can get there too if you want to, but you can also heal privately and not share any of that. But I can tell you, by talking to even just one survivor, one other person has helped me so much. Like, Tracey gives me so much perspective. So many times she has to tell me to, you don't need to apologize for that. You're doing
But you
great.
do the same thing, darling. You do the same thing. We feed off of each other. That's why I always say thank God for just placing your mind. We totally feed off of each other in so many ways. We don't talk about it all the time, guys, but we have a relationship outside of us coming on live. So we literally, on a day-to-day basis, feed off each other, whether it's a laugh, a cry, or whatever the case may be. And it'll be the craziest thing, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, it's so for God. She's like, you better not start. I better not get you to start giving me an apology. The same thing you would say to me. Listen, it's called grace, and that's why you need people in your life. And even if you don't have that specific person, as Tawnie is my person, this is why we are creating this community of being live and sharing with you, sharing how we're getting through our anxieties, how we're getting through our invisible disabilities, how we're getting through the anxieties, how we're getting through the confusion of the brain, the aphasia, all these things. And as she said, we don't always get on here and cry, but honey, you've been on here. If you've been following us long enough, listen, I can literally laugh right now and in a 0.0 of a second start crying. That again, guys, is just the flustering of our mind. So again, as we talk about invisible disabilities, that's another one of our invisible disabilities. It's the mixed emotions, the emotional roller coaster. Once you've had a traumatic brain injury, you have this confusion of the brain that you cannot always control. And we got to understand an emotion is an emotion. Emotion is a sad, a happy, a cry, a laughter, a giggle, a angry, a scream. These are all emotions, guys, all emotions. So understanding how can you cry and laugh in the same sense? It'd be like, nothing's wrong with me, you guys. I'm trying to laugh, but I'm crying because it's an emotion. So we are having we have this bowl of emotions, and whatever our brain, because we've had traumatic brain injuries, whatever this traumatic brain decides to put out, that's what you get. So again, that is something we live with, but we still are learning how to control it. In the beginning, it was harder, and as Tawnie said, she got comfortable with talking about it. So it was harder because I would say in the beginning, I probably did more of closing myself off and hiding in the room, because I'm be like, if I go out in public, people gonna think I'm crazy. But then when I did come out, and people would see and they're like, "You're okay going out?" Listen, I would tell everybody around me in a second. I might laugh right now, but I might cry right. And I've done it in front of all my friends, and they like, the first initial is what the hell, but then if I do it, they start laughing like, "Oh, here we go." And so that gets me out of it easier. So it's not like they don't give me the moment to sit in and be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed." They start laughing like, "Here she go." And should I be crying with you or laughing with you? But most of the time, if I start to cry, they all start laughing. I'm like, thank you. And I need that. I need that, because it's like, get me out of this. Get my brain to cooperate the right way. So what that does is literally, as my brain is trying to release this emotion, I see my friends around me, because I've already notified them and I've already made them aware of what I have going on. Their laughter allows my brain to pick up, oh, I'm really trying to laugh, versus let's look on the other end. If I did not express this with them, naturally, you see how the law of attraction works. I start crying. They may think, hey, maybe I need to cry with her. Yeah. But no. But they already know we were not doing anything to cry, you guys. So I don't need you to cry with me. But if there is moments that I'm crying, that law of attraction really may bring out, because we're feeling each other and we're feeling like, hey, this is a moment that we're crying, we're letting things out, we're releasing. Which, another way how my brain works, guys, because I brought that up, releasing. How we're able to talk about these invisible disabilities and how we're able to talk about the fact that we look fine is because we have been able to sit with the fact that we have learned to release. Learn to release to make sure we get better, because we got to think about, if we hold these things in, we cannot truly heal. When we're able to release, that is a part of healing. What we put out, what we have inside, when we're able to get it out, we're able to take the next step to heal. But if we're holding it inside, we can never release anything. So it's like pain, 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 all inside without ever releasing. You're like, hey, why can't I get this smile? We got to think about, and I'm saying that to everybody. Why can I get this now? Because you may not have learned or figured out how to fully release. And it's not, if you're not going to release everything out publicly, like we get on live, you can release it to your friend, your close one, your loved one, somebody that you feel comfortable with. And that right there is a part of healing, guys. Being able to say, hey, I remember a month ago, a year ago, I couldn't say anything about it. Now I'm able to tell a family or loved one that I feel comfortable with and say, hey, I'm able to release. Or I'm able to tell them, I walk around looking like this because I have so much pain inside. Or I'm holding the pain because when I really want to speak, I can't figure out the words. So that right there gives me anger. So I go away, I go and hide. So all of those things we want to say, but we have not figured out how to say it, guys. We got to find somebody that we're comfortable with enough to say, hey, they will protect my best. They have my best interest in their heart. So I should be able to open up to them without feeling like they're judging me, or without feeling like, hey, I'm embarrassed about the situation. So I'm trying to get that out there, guys, so you to understand there's levels to this. And we figured out levels, and we didn't figure it out in the beginning. No. This is a process. She's 8 years, I'm 5 years of learning. And my 5th year, I've been very vocal, has been the hardest. And it's been the breakthrough of my release. Like, hey, wow, I feel better crying out loud. Yes. I feel better when talking about it. Feel better talking about the depression, talking about the quiet moments and all that. And once I release it, I feel light. And some people may say, how do you feel light when you just let it out? Guess what? I unleashed the load that I was carrying, that burden that I was carrying. I unleashed it. So it's like the more I let out. So we say, as the Bible states, Lord, my thoughts are going to go over there, but I'm not going to state it quote by quote, but Lord, where it says, cry at night, joy in the morning. I can't think right now, but y'all know what I'm saying. As the Bible says, so we're crying to release, so therefore I can get to the point where I have joy. So that's what I'm learning to release, and I've learned in this 5 years, the more I release, the more joy that I have, the more free that I have, the more light that I feel, the more open that I am, open to be able to help you, to bring you through what you're going through, to just state and speak about all those things, because we all do it at different levels, and we all will never be the same, guys. So as I share mine, maybe that'll help you get out of yours. As Tawnie shared hers, it'll help you get out of yours. So it's just different levels. I'm going to stop talking and let Tawnie talk. Hey, Joe, I got to say this, guys. I had to say that. That's one of my favorite people right there. Joe, how are you?
Joe, I joke that Joe's like Tom from MySpace, but for like the stroke brain buddy. Like, he's the first person who explained to me that I had a stroke. Like, none of the doctors said that. They just said a ruptured brain aneurysm, and which it's medical jargon, technical stuff. But as soon as I started telling people I had a stroke, then they were more understanding, because most people don't understand a brain aneurysm rupture. All of a sudden I said a stroke. They're like, oh my gosh, you can walk, you're smiling, like all these things, they get it. But oh wow, we went off on a total other tangent. Oh, this is what happens. But that, and so just to say, like, that used to embarrass me. I used to not talk about having depression. When I got diagnosed with it, I literally whispered it. And the reason I shout it is because, and I say it, I heal loudly so no one has to suffer in silence. Because I was showing up as a special education teacher, and then I went back to bartending. Like, I looked like everything was fine. Tawnie's fine. And I would go to work and I would tell everyone I'm okay, even though I was in extreme pain, super depressed, super anxious, felt like, why did I survive this thing to just be in pain and a burden to everybody? That's how I used to think. So I'm sharing this with you because I've gotten to a place now where I still have to work at it, but like, I'm grateful I went through all that, because I would have never met Tracey. I've never met Joe. I would not have become a mermaid. And I realized that, yes, it sucks when I have my stressy, depressy stuff, but it makes me appreciate the good times, and the emotions and the feelings are temporary. They are, and you always get through it. So I just keep reminding myself, like, I have had so many beautiful things, experiences because of all of this. And like, I've been diagnosed with clinical depression and anxiety with a gnarly case of PTSD. It sucks, but in the reality, we all are here together. Thank you for sharing that, because people don't talk about it enough. The depression that comes, I feel like we highlight and really talk about the physical aspects, which are obviously very important, but that's the silent part. And I have to say, I know all of you guys are like, but you're always smiling. You're so great. Robin Williams. So I just, to the people who are smiling and are their strongest, I just right now, whoever just popped into your head, can you please just send them a message and just say, like, I just appreciate you for whatever you want to say, because everybody needs to feel that and know that. And so I'm so grateful, like that Teresa says, that we have this, and it's so sweet. Teresa said, you ladies are amazing people. Oh, thank you. We're glad you found us. Like, I know we talked.
Yeah, we went on a tangent, guys, but at the same time, since we're talking about we look fine, these are just, again, as I said, and I pinned it, we heal loudly so that you don't have to suffer in silence. So we are showing ourselves. We are putting ourselves out here, because everybody's healing is going to be different. Nobody's going to heal the same. We go through these different pains. Yes, we are stroke survivors. We are traumatic brain injury survivors. In turn, we are all warriors trying to learn how to love and live, whether you want to say with the new norm or in spite of where we are today. But knowing at the end of the day, as long as we have breath of life, there's still room for more. So we got to understand, today is not the end of our days. Right now, this moment, we're still breathing, guys. We can change how we live. We can change how we make things happen. We can change how we manifest things in our lives with just learning things about ourselves and speaking up about it and standing up for yourself. And at the end of the day, giving yourself grace, guys. I don't know how I did that to my thing.
I don't know. All of a sudden, you're like in Sapedia or something. You're like in
I don't know, child.
I love it.
Yes, every breath is a second chance, guys. Yeah. But listen, y'all know that this is what we do. And we give you our real, true, raw self. We mess up the media. We do all this in the midst, and we just be laughing about it. Because listen, that's a part of our healing. Yeah, that's a part of our healing and a part of our grace. Once we were able to get to the point that we could laugh at ourselves and just say, it is what it is, y'all. Listen, this is why we can sit up here and smile in spite of everything. Not even making you the statement that, hey, 5 minutes before we got on, we just had a whole crying back. But that is life, guys, and that's the beauty of it, because we're still able to get on here and smile and praying to God that we encourage somebody to get out of their thing, because you're not alone. But at the same time, I don't want you to keep holding it in. We gotta let it out. Again, you don't have to speak publicly as we are. You could DM Tawnie, myself, talk. If you say, hey, I just want to get on the phone and talk to you, we are more than willing. This is what we do. We love doing it, because, again, we are advocates trying to show you how to live life in spite of. So we do not want you to feel like you are alone, or wait 5 years or 8 years to say, hey, now I finally got it. I'm telling you, it took me 5 years to finally get it. So it's like my reverse. And I made a statement there. It's like, I'm in year 5, but I'm living reverse as if this is my year 1, with all of the depression and the bouts and everything I'm going through and speaking out about. I'm doing it in reverse. But it's a part of healing that. Praying to God is going to help somebody in their year 1 come out, so they don't have to wait 5, 6, 7, 8 years as we did.
Oh, Joe just said we can look at it as a tragedy, but I prefer to see it as a comedy. Abso-freaking-lutely.
It is a comedy.
It is. Like you said, we have breath on, and we can smile. So it always, I do. Even when it's the worst, I end up smiling and laughing, and we get through it. Because guess what? Everybody, if you're watching this right now, you have a 100% success rate. You do.
Yes.
So you've made it through everything. We're going to keep doing it. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, we love you. I was trying to make sure we said everybody's comments. You said the one that Teresa was saying, I used to be outgoing. Then I was told I have a benign brain tumor, and the anxiety went through the roof. So yes, Teresa, we are praying that you figure out ways to get through your anxiety. As I said, if you would like to reach out and talk to either of us, and definitely reach out. If you don't want to talk publicly, we can always talk to you outside of social media or anything. We love you too, Joe. But again, guys, we want you to learn And we're doing this so we can find different ways. Everybody's not going to heal the same way. Everybody's not going to be able to speak out loud, but we want you to find it now so you don't have to wait as we had to and work through this process of learning to live in spite of where we are. We want you to learn how to live. Meditation and breath work. For sure. Yes, that is definitely
a big one, just because like almost everyone, and I have to say that because I kicked and dragged my foot. In fact, I'm pretty sure Joe can attest to a couple times telling me that I need to meditate. And the more I was like, I don't have time to meditate. Everyone's like, that's exactly why you do need to meditate. Like, girl, you need to take a breath. If you can't take 3 minutes for yourself in a 24-hour day, you got some problems. So that's why I did have to throw that in there.
Listen, and you threw that in, I'm going to tell y'all, she threw that in there for me because I'm going to have to admit to her that I still have.
I told you it's like dating. We're going to find you the right kind. We're going to do, guess what? I found that on my meditation app, there's a way that you can do it with friends. They have suggested one. So I actually was going to suggest to you, since you'll work out with me, I will meditate with you, because if I can get my grandma to meditate, I feel like I can with you. It's like dating. So please don't give up. You have to find the right person, the right time. You got to be in the right mood. You got to like set yourself up for it.
Tawnie is my sister that's about to teach you how to meditate, y'all. That's what we're doing. And Joe, when I get there, then we're going to add you as the third person to make sure we're both doing it right. Because Joe, listen, Joe don't play, y'all. So I'm not about to let Joe come in right now. See, that he already said it.
I know.
Let's chat about this meditation. I already knew. Joe, I said that before I even seen your message. I don't want to go there with you right now.
And that's exactly why he's going to get, he's like, okay, I got the one thing I can get you on then. All right. That's where you need help with. Yep.
Yes.
I know.
We're past our time. We love you guys. I'm sorry we went past our 30 minutes. So we will see y'all next Wednesday. Workout live, strength and stamina with Tawnie and Tracey. Workouts for beginners, intermediate, advanced. So you cannot say that you can't work out. We will modify the workouts for you live right here. Yesterday we did a whole full body workout. We're sitting in our seats. So the workout is for everybody. We want you to learn how to love yourself and get your light of life back, guys. So again, every Wednesday, I'll be messing up time, y'all.
11
a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m.
Eastern.
And then jump on here with us on Thursdays, where we have conversations to talk the reality about stroke survivors and learning how to love and live life and how to pick up your smile again, guys. All right, guys, we love y'all. See you next week.
Appreciate you. Bye.
Bye.